Picture this: Britain, having waved goodbye to the European Union in a bold bid for independence, is now on the hook to send over £50 billion across the Channel, a staggering sum that's left many feeling like they've been dealt a raw deal. It's a financial hangover from Brexit that's sparking outrage and debate, and trust me, you won't want to look away from this unfolding story. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this just the price of doing business, or a massive mistake that taxpayers are footing the bill for years to come? According to fresh data from the Office for National Statistics, ONS, the UK shelled out a hefty £3.25 billion to EU officials in the most recent year alone. When you tally it up, that brings the grand total of what Britons paid to Brussels since officially exiting in 2020 to roughly £44 billion. And get this, the government has pledged to fork over an additional £6 billion to £8 billion as part of the exit agreement, pushing the overall post-Brexit payouts well beyond that eye-popping £50 billion mark. This figure towers over what past administrations said they were prepared to cough up to sever ties with the bloc, leaving critics fuming about the implications for everyday Brits grappling with rising living costs. Critics aren't holding back, calling it an affront to families already squeezed by economic pressures and looming tax increases possibly on the horizon in the upcoming November budget. David Jones, a former Tory Brexit minister who's now joined Reform UK, blasted the situation as nothing less than a slap in the face to all the hard-working Britons currently battling a cost-of-living crisis. He argues that the EU shouldn't get a penny more from the UK, suggesting the desperation to escape led to a poorly negotiated agreement. For beginners wondering about the basics, think of it like ending a subscription service, but still being charged for extra features you thought you ditched. It's that mismatch between expectations and reality that stings. Frank Furedi, head of the MCC Brussels think tank, echoes this sentiment, accusing UK negotiators of being outmaneuvered and failing to play tough. Our team was taken for a ride, he says, and they prioritized an easy ride over the tough decisions that could have saved us money. Meanwhile, the EU Commission is probably chuckling all the way to the bank with their sweet financial victory. It's a tragedy, he adds, watching billions slip away to the EU instead of staying in the UK economy. And this is the part most people miss. These payments aren't just arbitrary fees. They're tied to commitments Britain made during its EU membership that hadn't been fully settled before leaving. To break it down simply, the bulk of these settlements stem from the bill for exiting, as outlined in the withdrawal agreement signed after the January 2020 departure. Initially, estimates pegged this at around £35 billion to £39 billion. But in July 2021, when the EU suggested a nearly £41 billion total, Downing Street pushed back, claiming it would be lower. A significant chunk covers unfinished obligations from UK membership days, plus contributions during the transition period from February to December 2020. During this time, Brexit was official, but Britain stayed in the EU's single market and customs union temporarily. Think of it as a buffer zone to ease the shift, allowing trade to continue smoothly while new rules were hammered out. After that, a free trade deal kicked in, aiming to keep commerce flowing without the full EU commitments. Digging into the numbers, the ONS breakdown shows £18.1 billion went to Brussels in 2020, dropping to £5.8 billion in 2021, then rising to £9.3 billion in 2022, £8.2 billion in 2023, and £3.25 billion last year. For context, when the UK was fully immersed as an EU member, its annual net contribution hovered between £8.9 billion in 2017 and £9.4 billion in 2019, so these post-Brexit figures are in a similar ballpark, but the twist is they're continuing long after the divorce. The Treasury defends this arrangement, emphasizing that the majority of these payments have already been made, and they reflect legal obligations we're committed to honoring. They point out that the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility has forecasted Brexit will trim the UK economy by 4% in the long run. That's why this government is focused on revitalizing Britain for global opportunities, they add, highlighting progress through trade pacts with the US, India, and even the EU. It's a counterpoint worth chewing on. Maybe these payments, though painful, are a necessary evil to unlock future growth and independence on the world stage. But is this really the best outcome, or could a different approach have saved billions? Some argue the deal was rushed and unfavorable, prioritizing speed over shrewd negotiation, a viewpoint that pits Brexit's promise of sovereignty against its hefty financial toll. On the flip side, others might see it as honoring international commitments, essential for maintaining credibility and paving the way for new alliances. What do you think? Do you agree that Britain got a raw deal, or is this just the cost of freedom in a complex global economy? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear if you side with the critics or the government on this divisive topic.